you guys are doing in your unit. So who can tell me what they think a geologist is? This is the young lady right here. What's your name? Hi, Amelia. How are you doing? Say it really loud so everybody can hear you. Amelia, no, okay. And what is a geologist? Is somebody that studies rocks. Yeah, does anybody have any other ideas?
A scientist who studies rocks.
Okay, it's a scientist who studies rocks. Well, what's a scientist?
A scientist is someone who studies like potions and chemicals.
Okay, what else? Who else knows what a scientist is? Yes, young lady. What's your name? Okay. Random things. Sometimes it seems that way. It does, yes. Who else? Yes, this morning. What's your name?
Lola.
Hi, Lola. That is a meteorologist. Geologist is a little bit different. Yeah. Well, let me tell you, a scientist is somebody who studies anything about the natural world, okay? So a scientist can be like a biologist who studies life, or it could be a physicist who studies motion, or it could be a chemist who studies chemistry and chemicals and that kind of thing, or you could be a geologist or a meteorologist who studies the weather, or a geologist is a certain kind of scientist that basically studies rocks and minerals and the earth in general, okay? So that's what a geologist is, and that's kind of what I do. So the next question then becomes, why would a geologist do that? Why would you study the earth? Yes, this one, what's your name?
Claire.
Hi, Claire.
And I think that they study the earth to find out more things about it.
To find out more things about it, like what kind of things?
Well, like how things grow and what things are made out of.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. This gentleman here, what's your name?
Matthew.
Oh, Matthew. Okay. Why would you study rocks and minerals and study about the earth? Find out new things, yeah. You know what? Geologists and scientists in general are people who are really, really curious about how the earth and how the universe works. And they're just trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out what makes everything work, because then we can use that knowledge to try to help people, or just sometimes just to know stuff, just because we're curious. Yes? How long have I been a geologist? A very long time, like 40 years.
40 years.
I know, that's a long time, right? I'm almost as old as some of the rocks that I study, huh? Yes.
How old are you?
Yeah. Okay, he's absolutely right. Sometimes rocks form from volcanoes, and then a volcano rock falls into the river, and then it tumbles down the river, and it maybe changes into something else. Yes? Yeah, go ahead. What's your name?
Have you ever found really big fossils?
I have. I found some really cool fossils. There's really good fossils right here in Iowa. And one of the things, this is interesting, okay? So let's go back, we're going to talk about the Grand Canyon and some other things pretty soon. But one of the things, like Iowa, is really, really interesting. Because if you go down to Coralville, and that's a strange name for a place in Iowa, isn't it? Coralville. Now, when you hear about corals, what do you think about usually? Yes?
The ocean.
The ocean, yeah. So why would we name a town in Iowa that's really, really far from the ocean? Why would we name it Coralville? Yes, what's your name? Bayla, tell me, why do you think? Keep thinking about it. Yes, what's your name? Will, what do you think, Will? Will is so right. So here's the thing that's so interesting. I mean, this like blows your mind, doesn't it? So we're sitting here in Iowa, and the Atlantic Ocean is like 1,200 miles away, and the Pacific Ocean is another 1,200 miles away in the other direction. And so we're sitting here on dry land, but we've got these rocks in Iowa, and it's in a town called Coralville, and when you look at those rocks have a lot of fossils in them. And those fossils are, what do you think one of the fossils are?
Fish.
Well, there is fish, but remember what's the name of the town? Yeah, what's the name of the town? Coral, yeah. So we called it Coralville, and the reason why they called it Coralville is you look at the rocks down there, and they got corals in them. And you say to yourself, wow, I can't believe this. Here we got rocks, and these rocks, we studied them as geologists. They were formed at the bottom of the sea, and they've got corals in them, they've got fish in them, they've got shells called brachiopods in them, they've got other things called crinoids, which look like flowers that are inside the ocean, but they're really actually animals. And so we study this stuff, and we put all those ideas together, and we say, oh my God, Iowa must have had a sea that covered Iowa at one time. And then we study it some more, and we say, wow, that sea was really, really old. It was millions and millions of years ago that sea came to Iowa. And it came up from like the Gulf of Mexico, came up through Texas, and it came up through Louisiana, and Mississippi, and Missouri, and it came all the way to Iowa and north of here. And so we've got all these fossils, so that's the kind of interesting thing. Being a geologist, you study this, and then you come up with this really, really crazy idea that there was a sea in Iowa, and then you go study it some more, and you try to prove your crazy idea is true. And that's what they came up with. They found out that there really was a sea in Iowa a long time ago. And not only was there a sea in Iowa, but you know, like today it's kind of cool out, isn't it? The time that this, kind of cool out, it's like chilly this morning. So, not like summertime. And so when the sea was in Iowa here, it was really, really warm in Iowa. It was a warm tropical sea. And so it was like being down in the Caribbean. So Iowa used to be like the Caribbean. And then another thing they found, they look at other rocks in Iowa, and they find rocks that look like they come from glaciers. And those rocks from the glaciers were from when Iowa was really, really cold. And so Iowa was much different in the past than it is today. At one time in the past, it was covered with warm tropical seas, and another time in the past, it was covered with ice. Crazy, huh? But that's what geologists try to figure out. Yes, sir. What's your name again? I didn't ask you the first time. What was it? Okay, Katie, tell me.
Well, sometimes why glaciers have rocks because maybe glacier rocks have like rock inside of them, but on the outside is ice and they drift all the way over here.
That's exactly right. It comes all the way down from Canada, and it carries the rocks with it and dumps them all in Iowa. And that's one of the reasons why actually Iowa is such a good state for farming, because it's got such good soil, and the good soil was partially brought down here by the glacier. Let's hold your questions for now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some pictures now of the Grand Canyon, because your teacher asked me to show you some pictures of that. And then what I want you to do is when you look at the pictures, I want you to connect it, maybe if you've already started your pebble sand and silt unit, and I want you to think about what do you see in the pictures that is, I'm going to show you two different canyons. And they're pretty different in some ways, but they got one thing really in common. I want you to see if you can figure out what that one thing is, okay? So let's take a look at these. Okay, let's turn the lights out if we can. Should I just turn these off here?
Yes. And I'll do, yep.
Did nobody fall asleep now? I turn the lights off, okay? Okay, so there's a picture of the Grand Canyon. And here's all these rocks down here, and you can see that it's a really, really wide canyon. Has anybody in the class ever been to the Grand Canyon? Oh, great. It's cool, isn't it? Grand Canyon is one of the most beautiful places in the whole United States. And here's the cool thing about being a geologist. Because I know some of you want to be a geologist, and someday when you grow up and go to college, you will become a geologist. Because what happens is, as a geologist, you can go to the Grand Canyon and study that, and make a living trying to figure out what's going on in the Grand Canyon. So there's another picture of the Grand Canyon. Again, I want you to look at the picture, and not right now, don't tell me anything right now, but I want you to think about what is the common thing that you see in a lot of these pictures that's going to help form the Grand Canyon. Not right now, don't tell me now, we're going to wait for later, okay? Isn't that beautiful? Oh, this is kind of cool. This is just, I just threw this in here in case you guys ever want to, let me make sure, yeah. They've got something new now that's called the Grand Canyon Skywalk, and this is kind of crazy. Because, you know, the Grand Canyon, you look down, and it's thousands and thousands of feet to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And what they did was, they made this walkway that just goes out. It's about like from here to the back of the room. And you walk out on this walkway, and the walkway is made of really thick glass under your feet. So when you walk out on the walkway, you look down, it's getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and then finally you're standing out there at the edge of the walkway where those people are, and you're looking straight down into the Grand Canyon, like thousands of feet below. You gotta be really brave to do that. If you're like scared of heights, not the right place to be.
I'm scared of heights.
I'm not.
I know you guys
I'm
are
not.
scared of heights. I am. Well, that's not the right place.
I'm not.
Hey, hang on to your questions. Hang on to your questions. We're gonna have more time for questions at the end. This is cool too. Now, one of the things that's interesting about the Grand Canyon is that part of it is a national park, but part of the Grand Canyon is on Indian land. And so it's the Havasupai Indians down there. And this is one of the most beautiful places. You have to hike down into the Grand Canyon to get to this place. But it's this is called Havasupai Falls, and there's this beautiful, beautiful lake down there. And both Havasupai Falls in this area, and also that walkway that I told you about, is owned by the Native Americans, and they use that to kind of like help support the tribe. So here's one of the things that's really fun about the Grand Canyon, is you can go river rafting down the Grand Canyon. And one of the things, again, that's really cool about being a geologist is that you get to do this stuff as part of your job. And so one of the things that I like about being a geologist is, doing my work, I've gone out on snowmobiles, I've gone out on motorcycles, I've gone out in Jeeps, I've gone out in ATVs, I've gone in helicopters, float planes, all kinds of stuff all over the place. So part of what's really exciting about being a geologist is just the adventure of going out to the field and going out to different places that are hard to get to, and the fun of getting there by, like I said, by going in a raft or going on a motorcycle or going in a kayak or whatever. It's always fun to get to where you're going, and that's part of why it's so much fun to be a geologist. Another thing you can do in the Grand Canyon is hike, and I've done a lot of hiking in my time as a geologist. Because in order to get to some of the places, there's no way to get there. There's no way to get it by a Jeep or a motorcycle or a helicopter or anything. So you just have to walk in, you have to backpack in. Okay, those were all the Grand Canyon. Okay, this is a different canyon. The Grand Canyon is in Arizona, and there's another canyon, and this canyon is also a national park, but it's a newer national park. This one is called the Black Canyon of the Gunnison. And you can see where the Grand Canyon was much, much wider, and there's a lot of red rocks around it. This is the Black Canyon of the Gunnison. You can see this one is really cool because it's really, really steep. So if you walk to the edge of this canyon, you can look down like 1,700 feet, 1,700 feet, like straight down. And that's scary too. But I've only been to the Grand Canyon a couple of times, but I've been to this one probably 30 or 40 times. This one's in Colorado.